Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Jedan, and welcome to MenoPositive.
I got a good feeling.
Where we take a refreshingly positive approach to navigating menopause. If you're looking for practical tips, expert advice, and honest conversations, think of this as your personal pick and mix for how to optimize your body. Although we can't prevent menopause, we can redefine it. And that journey starts now. So the other week, I went to one of my favorite exercise classes. If you listen regularly, you know I am a huge fan of Sanctum. It was a special class for a few reasons. My dear friend Luke was teaching. It was the end of a week, and they were launching these Sanctum affirmation cards. So at the start of the class, when you arrive, you were asked to pick a card and at random and then place it beside your mat. And then throughout the session, we would look at it, we would take it in. And at the end, Luke asked us to stand in a circle, read our card out loud, and then pass it to the left. We then read the card that was handed to us and passed it to the left, and then again and again. And I remember thinking, hang on, where's my card going? So eventually Luke stopped us and he said, the card you're holding now is the one meant for you. All right, so mine read, everything is energy. Now, if I'm honest, my first reaction was like, what the fuck? It felt like it was resistance. It just felt like a cliche, but I tucked it into my rucksack, the one I carry almost every day, and it has stayed with me all week. And interestingly, of course, so has the idea. This idea of everything is energy has showed up in conversations, at events I've attended, even in meeting today's guest, whose work in part focuses on balancing energy in the body. So Albert Einstein famously said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Not philosophy, physics. The more I sat with it, I think it eventually clicked, especially in the context of hormone shifts. Because this life stage, at its core, is a profound shift in how we generate, use, and protect our energy, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When hormones fluctuate, energy production changes. When energy dips, everything you do can feel harder: focus, mood, motivation. So if we view menopause through the lens of everything is energy, it becomes less about managing symptoms and more about learning how to manage our energy differently. Because what's happening on the inside can have a profound effect on how we look and show up on the outside. And that's exactly why I wanted to speak with today's guest, the wonderful Sarah Bradden. Sarah is one of London's most in-demand practitioners. From celebrities to royalty, she has many fans, and for good reason. She may be famed for her tightening and toning facials, but it's her unique mix of traditional and modern techniques that supports clients inside and out with hormonal health, preventing the signs of aging, and promoting a positive state of mind. Sarah, welcome to MenoPositive.
Oh, wow. Thank you for having me. That's such a beautiful introduction. Thank
It has
you.
been such a pleasure getting to know you, and I did have the privilege of having one of your treatments, and I'm so excited to share it with everybody. But if it's okay with you, I wanted to talk a little bit about your story and start there
Yeah.
because I understand, from BA flight crew on the Concorde
Yeah.
to luxury wellness, it all sounds very glamorous, but you had a lot of issues with your health. It wasn't all rosy. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
I love that you mentioned the Concorde, the BA Concorde, because that's actually my claim to fame, I think.
I loved it when I discovered it. I'm like, legend.
Yeah, it was, although it feels like a previous life, my career with BA. I guess my health really changed after I had my children. I was in a very difficult relationship, and as a result, my health really deteriorated. And that was through long-term stress. We lost our home, we lost everything. So looking after two little people on my own became very daunting, but also there had been a lot of trauma then in the body. So I felt broken physically, mentally, emotionally, and it showed in my body. Doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I had really bad cystic acne all over my faces. Some of them were actually abscesses that I had to have removed. I was down to kind of 5 stone, 5.5 stone at kind of my lowest weights. They didn't know what was wrong. So it was a bit of a guessing game, in and out of hospital, lots of colonoscopies.
Pleasant.
Yeah, pleasant, And in the end, they diagnosed me with diverticulitis. It felt a bit like a guessing game, to be honest, because there had been so many scans, there'd been so many investigations done. They did want to remove part of my bowel. And as a young woman with 2 small children, I was in my early 30s, and I thought, I was so scared at that point. I felt like my whole energy, and just to kind of retrack a bit, as a child growing up, I was always able to read energies, but not through sight or visualizing in the way that I can do now, but through smell, which I always thought was really a normal thing to do. It used to drive my dad insane.
So what did that look like?
Well, I would just be able to smell if something was off, or if somebody wasn't quite right, and now, now we know about the dogs that they use for health,
Yes,
that they can smell things.
That totally popped into my head, yeah.
So I kind of have that ability, but thankfully it has expanded a bit now. I'm just not going around sniffing everyone.
No. Okay.
But so I already had been gifted that, in my years of growing up, but I lost all of that. But something happened when I was kind of going through that recovery, especially when they said about removing part of my bowel. And I just thought, just doesn't feel right. And that night, there was this message came to me about having acupuncture. So the following day, went and found an acupuncturist local to me. And that was kind of the beginning of my love for acupuncture. I obviously wasn't cured in one day, but something started to move my energy. It was a gentle nudge, and that was where the rebuilding started in the body. So that's why the Bradden Method exists today, because once I started to feel better, I was then deep diving into acupuncture, the other therapies that I was using, oxygen therapy, energy healing. I was going to see other energy healers to help me. So everything that I bring then into the Bradden Method is literally what brought me back to life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything. So sometimes, I feel that I really speak from the horse's mouth in just kind of how powerful it is when we can, when your body feels safe, or you're gently nudging some stagnated energy, how the healing process can then start to really take place in your body.
And I also think, before we started recording the show, Sarah and I were talking about, women from midlife, or from your 30s onwards, we're all hustling and we're busy and we're rushing and we don't give ourselves enough time to listen to our bodies. So I think that's amazing too, that you actually, with everything that was going on in your life, still hear this whisper of acupuncture.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? Because with looking after 2 kids, being so ill, wherever your home is at that moment in time, for you to even be able to have that message come to you.
Well, I didn't even have a home. We were homeless as well at that point. Yeah, so it was a real mess. But I had to get to a point to start to listen. to listen, because I was in so much fear at that time that actually the whole point was that I didn't listen. And then I got to that stage where I was so depleted that I think the voice must have come in loud and clear, that now you have to try something. And also at that point I was, there was no getting further. I was literally on the ground. So the only way from there was back up, recovering. But that's a big lesson for me, that I still, life still goes on, in the sense that the responsibilities of life, and it always goes up and down like this. But this is one of the big teachings and learnings that I adapt into my life, but also with my clients, my friends, everyone. I tell everyone, slow down a bit. Just slow down a bit.
I mean, anybody who listens to this show also knows a couple years ago, I had said to myself, do one less thing every day.
Yeah.
And because I was just rushing from one thing to another thing, to picking up my daughter from school and then rushing to work and getting on that call and making dinner, or, doing a social event. And I wanted to do it all. You kind of want to be there and do it all. But my nervous system was just so heightened.
Yeah.
And as soon as I removed something, it just opened up a little bit space that I wasn't rushing to the school gate anymore. I was able to walk gently to the school gate. And then that's when I was able to start tuning into my body as well. So I can relate a little bit from that perspective. But, I can tell a little bit from your experience how that has shaped your view and approach to women's health. I had the privilege of coming in and seeing you the other day. I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, am I getting a facial? And is she a healer? But I handed myself over to you, as you know. And it really was, I talked to a friend afterwards who's been dying to come see you. And she's like, so how was it? How was it? And all I could say was, it's like nothing I'd experienced before. It's a completely unique experience. So can you describe the Bradden Method and the philosophy behind it?
So the Bradden Method is a real combination of Eastern and Western techniques combined. So my love of acupuncture and TCM are a huge part of the treatment, but so's the high-tech wellness. And not from a gimmicky point of view. These are things that really dovetail really beautifully together. So LED, the organs love LED lights as well. So, and not many people know this, so I'm like, get the light mask on your belly when you get home. So for me, it's about treating the person as a whole, leaving no stone unturned. And I often say that to my clients in the room, I'm leaving no stone unturned. That's because everything is connected. So I never believe it's really important that I listen to symptoms, but it's never about symptom related. It's about treating the person as a whole. And I think that's a big part of my philosophy, is that to leave no stone unturned, to treat you as a whole being and all the dots to connect. So you just hopefully leave my treatment feeling amazing.
Well, and I have to say, I felt that. I felt not only very held in the room, because you stayed with me the entire time.
Yeah.
I really hate when therapists leave the room.
I know.
I'm like, give me a hand massage or a foot massage or something.
But that's a no. I'm surprised how many people do that. I think it's a really awful thing to do.
Oh, I hate that. Anyway, you were with me the whole time, but I felt like it was almost like all these tools in your toolbox, and you were using all of them and really listening and moving around to where my body was. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I know, you talk about this idea about the face and skin reacting to what's happening internally. And that's one of the reasons why you're treating the whole body. And I think some people might come to you because they have a skin issue.
Yeah.
But it's really not the skin, is it?
The face, the skin is such an amazing dashboard especially for me, because I can then start to read and I know what the body will need. Like your face will tell me what's going on inside. So energetically, physically, emotionally, somebody's got bladder issues or hormonal, it doesn't matter what it is, it will show up on the face. So it's a real great kind of diagnostic tool for me. often that's then related back to what the beauty side of it is. People coming in, whether it's acne or pigmentation or dry skin or jowls, as we were talking about the other day, or the hooded eyes. So for me, it's a real indication of where somebody's lacking something, or if we need to do a bit more work on surrounding certain organs. So for me, it's the diagnostic tool that really helps me get to the nitty-gritty of what we're actually going to do in the session.
It makes sense to me, though, because I believe the skin is like the largest organ on our
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's kind of like a shop. I guess the skin is a shop window
Yeah,
to what's
exactly
going on
that.
inside.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's how you look at
And
it.
also the face changes all the time. And it's something that because I do a lot of the face map reading, so not only does it show things, deficiencies of what's going on, or imbalances or blocked chi, but it also shows emotions. If somebody's feeling quite passive, or it can show different personality traits. So it also really helps me if somebody's holding a lot of anger, so you can see if somebody's feeling quite angry as well. So again, you can support a lot around the emotions as well. So again, it works on so many different multiple layers. And of course, our organs are really connected to our emotions and feelings in TCM. And again, that's why treating you as a whole is also really important certainly in my practice.
And you're saying TCM, and for everybody listening,
Sorry,
that's Chinese medicine.
medicine, yeah.
What are you? Oh God, I'm gonna jump around here. From Chinese medicine, what do you see the difference in how they approach menopause versus Western medicine?
Well, we don't use the word menopause for that. It's all about they view it so differently, and it's such a positive way to view things as well. So it's it's a very natural transition, but this is about wisdom, women coming into their more wiser years. So it's viewed about the second spring, and this is about women slowing down. This is about the internal wisdom that we create, but also we do become deficient. So yin deficient and blood deficiency. And that's done over years of periods, a natural decline. So it's just viewed very, very differently in a much more positive way. So actually supporting the body as a whole is where then we would then support the yin, nourishing the kidneys, supporting the blood, which then helps that natural transition into a more positive one. In the Western world, I think it's thank goodness we are talking about it more and there is more help out there. But I think HRT has been spoken about as such a magic cure for so many things, and there's so much more to it. And don't get me wrong, it's a great support. But many women need more than that. It's such an emotional thing as well. And I think as women, you need your tribe. You need good women around you. You need to be able to be supported, because menopause is not something, I've just got to get through this. This is part of our life. And it's about working through it with the right support and actually making yourself feel strong. We realise also that we do too much at this stage. And, caring for children, working full time, running a house, husbands, family, dogs, name it. We are online, we're contactable 24 hours a day, and very often we're still getting in bed going, right, okay, have I done the food shop? Have I done check, and it's too much.
Yeah.
And actually this doesn't support our hormone system. So then when we're going through this very natural, normal cycle of our life, we don't have the resources in our body to still function at that level day in, day out. And really, we shouldn't be doing it all like that anyway.
No, but I think you're right. I think like everybody's looking for a magic bullet,
Yeah.
and there isn't one. That's why this show is like a pick and mix for people to go in and pull out what they need. But HRT solves a million problems and can be a game changer for some women.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is more. And if I think of my own experience when I was starting to go through perimenopause, I first started seeing people for aesthetic reasons. right? Like I was like, oh, like my skin
Yeah.
is changing. Like, why is that? And then they started talking about hormones. And what you do, I think, blends kind of the functional, aesthetic,
Yeah.
cosmetic part of it with spirituality. I want to not even
Yeah.
just spirituality, because I don't want people to think this is kind of woo woo or anything, like,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
wellness. And then that bit about the what's happening inside is reflective. So I think it's that cosmetic versus cosmetic meets wellness.
Yeah. I think also as well, if you're not having, that might be your first symptom of the perimenopause without you even really knowing it. Because as we know, we can be in perimenopause for 10 years or, so very often people aren't having the more extreme symptoms. So you might notice, well, actually the face feels a bit more drier, or, my skin doesn't sit on my face so well now, or I feel like my face is dropping. So that really, again, this is about the dashboard. So this is the first kind of symptoms. So then that's why conversations are so important, and why I look at the tongue and read the energies, because then for me, that's a real indication. Okay, this is the start of the change of your Jing essence in your body, which is about, going into perimenopause or menopause.
So you can see that in the skin, because I was going to ask you,
Yeah.
in your practice, how do perimenopause or menopause symptoms show up in the skin?
Well, that would be the first thing that I look at, kind of dull, dry skin, sometimes maybe acne, that can or maybe all three, maybe slightly people feeling that they're getting a bit more pigmentation as well, or melasma. But the tongue and the pulse, and the reading like that give me a really good indication. Even if somebody's still, my periods are still regular, no change kind of there. But, looking at the tongue, so the tongue, the pulse, and, reading the energies are really helpful tools when we're when you're in the treatment room.
I think I read that people called the Bradden Method a spiritual reset with a facelift.
Yeah, how lovely that.
Because you also give little love notes, as you call them, at the
Yeah.
end. So after I left a day later, you sent me a message,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a report of
Yeah.
what you found, right?
Yeah.
And what's the idea behind the love notes?
Because I think people are just so overwhelmed with so much information out there that they just want to know what to do in the most simplest way. And I love to create really simple, effective toolkits for people to do, whether they've got only 1 minute, 3 minutes, or half an hour, where they can do things that can just help themselves feel better. So it's always a very personalized love note. I like to call them love notes because I was calling them the Bradden Method reports. I thought that just sounds so official.
Oh, love notes.
Yeah.
Is
So, but I
great.
think love note is much cuter. So it's a very personalized acupressure routine, and maybe some supplements and things like that I think people should, integrate into their daily rituals. And also, I'm a huge fan of micro habits. So I like to be able to give people just a few things that they can do throughout their day that actually accumulatively over the day, over the weeks, you feel much better. Because when I was going through my recovery, what I was doing was then setting reminders on my phone. I mean, initially it was every hour. Have I drunk enough water? Am I breathing properly? How am I holding myself? Because I was in fear for so long that my body was kind of in this kind of paralyzed, frozen state. So to retrain and to re-regulate, I would check in every hour.
Oh, it's like you were in a state of fight or flight.
Yeah.
And then this is how I'm going to
Yeah.
start to regulate.
Unravel. Yeah.
It reminded me of the Aura Ring. Or was it the Aura Ring or the Fitbit, where it would vibrate or give you a reminder when you needed to get up and move?
Oh, yes.
Right. I don't know if you ever had one of those.
Stand
It's
up.
like you've been sitting for too long. You need to get up and move around. And wouldn't that be cool you could do your own reminders on your phone like you did, but maybe that's an easy thing to integrate. Again, whether you're in an office, it's very discreet. It's like you just have to get up and go get fill your cup, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or I even just this idea to stop for a moment and am I breathing correctly? Oh my God, I used to, yeah, sometimes I catch myself. I'm like, I don't think I've been
Yeah,
breathing.
I know. But so many don't. You know, real shallow breathers, or people will hold their breath even while they're writing an email, especially if it's kind of tense, or,
Yeah.
they're like, afterwards, I'm like, for God's sake, breathe.
Oh my God. I can even just picture myself doing that. So talking about tension, but from your experience, how much of menopause do you believe is hormone related versus nervous system or lifestyle imbalance?
I always think, menopause is not always the problem. It's something that our bodies as women, we all go through it. This is not anything new, but the way that we live is just not sustainable in the sense of there's no rest. And this is why rest should be, our nervous system needs to chill out. It needs downtime. And very often, as women, we often view that as like, oh God, well, I can't sit down. I've got so much to do. I can't do that. This should be part of our daily practice as much as doing a meditation or as much as having a healthy soup or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. This should be part of our routine.
I was reading when people plan their year
Yeah.
and we do a lot of scheduling. You've got work meetings, you've got appointments, you've got this, you've got that, but we never schedule fun.
Yeah.
And they were saying how important it was that you actually plan those holidays in advance, or you plan a
Yeah.
movie night or something like
Yeah.
that, or you plan to play games at home that night. But we never plan for that. And this sounds like another thing
Yeah.
that we need to plan for. But
Factor
I
in.
mean, you even said it. You're like, but many of us are running around going, I don't have time. I don't have
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
What do you say to those women?
Well, most of us, if we know we've got something in the diary, especially if it's in the evening, we go, oh God, how am I going to get out of this? I don't want to go. I want to be in bed for 8 o'clock, and
How do
I
I
am
say
one of
no?
yeah. So I'm definitely one of those people where I will then get myself really worked up about going out in the evening. But what I also know is that going out and having a really good laugh with my girlfriends or a group of friends over dinner, early dinner. I'm definitely Cinderella now. There's no going out after 12 for me. But you never regret a good night out or laughing with your friends. And it fills your cup up. So I'm definitely not out all the time, but I have made a promise to myself and saying that, I'm still a work in progress like everyone else going through menopause, is that the way to fill your cups up, we can attach ourselves to machines all day long. That, the technology out there is amazing. There's lots of gimmicks as well, but actually real restorative battery recharging stuff is the stuff that we get from the plants, our friends, hugging, nature, the real deals. And so I encourage people to at least once a month, don't overload your diary, but we can do once a month where we go out, have dinner with the girlfriends or whatever.
Nothing like time with the girlfriends.
Yeah.
And it's free.
And it's free. Yeah, exactly. And
And
it's
maybe
really,
you need the girlfriends as well. I mean, just like you had said to me, I had told you about my week and I thought I had a down day. I thought I had a day that but maybe we just need to remind each other. And that's
Yeah.
what girlfriends can do for each other too. Just
Mm.
say, just a reminder, or just take some time for yourself.
Yeah.
Even that would be helpful.
Yeah.
I want to pause right there. While that's sinking in, let's take a quick break to hear from our amazing partners who help bring you this show for free.
I got a good feeling.
Quick favor before we start. I know every podcast asks you to do this, but could you please hit follow and rate the show? It really does make a big difference. Now, back to the show. How do you work with women to prepare them for or help them manage through menopause and that transition? Because I know the other interesting thing is no two treatments are alike with you.
Yeah.
It's like a snowflake.
Yeah.
Talk us through your approach if somebody's coming in and experiencing or going through the menopause transition. And again, they may not come in because they're and say,
Yeah.
I'm in menopause.
Yeah.
They probably come in for whatever, like you said, something's going on with
Yeah.
their skin or their energy is low.
Yeah.
But how would you approach that?
My clients kind of sit down, they start talking, they don't stop. And I always find that's a real indication of somebody going through perimenopause, menopause, because they need to get it off their chest. They're feeling like, and then all of a sudden, the more they start talking, because initially they'll start talking about the skin. Oh, my face. I go, okay, like what's happening? Have you got everything there? And then the next thing you know, there's a lot more information coming out. So I'm like, okay, this is then also giving other clues about what's going on hormonally. You can tend to see somebody, the way that their face changes as well, also is a really big indication of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to plan. But then I look at the tongue. Once the client's on the bed, we look at the tongue, I do the pulse, and that gives me a really good understanding of where I'm going to start and what's going on in the body. So initially, it may be what I always say to them, this is like an MOT, a service for the body. Because what the client may think that they need, and it's really important that is, off their chest and they talk through everything. Then when I look and I think, right, okay, actually, there's a lot more hormonal stuff going on than you realize. And of course, I always talk through what I'm doing in the treatments with my clients as well, even though sometimes they're snoring and dribbling at the time. I still talk. Because I think that it's really important that people are aware of what's going on. And also the body changes so much. So once I start to see my client on that first session, that's kind of a real, for me, again, it's never about working on one thing. You're always treating as a whole. But then what's interesting is then the treatments following that will always be slightly different because the body changes all the time. And so again, I'll always be using the diagnostic tools like the tongue. I always get my clients to WhatsApp me how they're feeling. So I build up a really it gives me a really good profiling of them, of what's happening to them in between treatments. So then when I see them the following time, I'm like, oh, okay, right, now I know what we're doing. So my treatments are very intuitively led as well. That's why each treatment is always so different, because your body is different every day.
And there was a part of the treatment where you said, I'm going to stop talking now.
Finally.
But I guess, is that when you start? Because then I think there was some reflexology. The tuning forks. You're a Reiki master,
Yeah.
I understand as well.
Yeah.
And gosh, I don't know what else was going on. My eyes were closed. I just saw like a purple glow in my eye. I didn't know what was. I just kind of was floating. So what that part of it is, that you can feel energy or things moving through the body?
So kind of once all of the needles in and kind of I've placed the LED lights and I've put a few crystals around, then I will use a certain type of speakers. So we bring the lights down, certain type of speakers. So we'll work in the left and right brain. And then that's when I have to say, right, I'm going to be quiet now, to the relief of the client. And then I will use the tuning forks to really start to bring the body, the tuning forks. And I use a certain type of Acutonics tuning forks. They are amazing. They are amazing. I have a whole collection of them. So the body really responds so beautifully to sound, vibration. And there's so much research now to support just how the body really responds to anything like that. So the reason then why that I bring these different things in is because even my hands are going now, even when I talk about it, the Reiki, the tuning forks, the chi, everything is about moving energy through the body. So all of these things really dovetail so beautifully together. So then when you're underneath the lights, and you're kind of quiet, maybe some snoring's going on, some dribbling. But that's when I can kind of really then hone in on where what I'm doing with the energy and how we're going to move it through the body. And very often the first one is like using the tuning forks just to kind of gently encourage that, but also working with the meridian lines and also the acupuncture points that we've done. Very often you can see like the acupuncture needles will be vibrating slightly as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And if somebody's showing colour, which very often they do, especially using the Reiki, the room can almost feel like a bit of a light show.
Yeah, you said that. You said, oh my God, there was a light show going on in here. But I was like, but what does that mean, Sarah? So what does that mean? Or is it just that your body is open and to what you're doing?
I mean, it is. It's because it's almost, and we all have an aura. So what this does, it just, when somebody's kind of switched on into that healing mode, I guess the treatment not forces you into a meditative state, but kind of you are so relaxed that your whole nervous system is relaxed. So actually everything flows much more easier. That's why the acupuncture seems to be working a bit more effectively than maybe it would without the energy healing. That's why I always feel that these things really supercharge each other. So then I often see colour then. So you were very purple, there was lots of white. So purple for me is like it's like an amethyst crystal colour. So it's somebody for me who really switches on to healing. And there was kind of no resistance. It was like handing over, okay, do your thing. So for me, that's always a really encouraging colour when I see that, because the body's really open up to, accepting that my energy helping move it through your body.
And I also, sorry to interrupt,
No.
I also want everybody to understand, because it sounds like there's a lot being thrown at you. And there
Yeah.
is. But you have chosen all these things very consciously. It's not like, oh, here's the latest thing in LED light therapy.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. These are all very conscious choices
Yeah.
that you've made and you've brought together in this method. Because you also have oxygen.
Yeah.
And I'm really into hydrogen oxygen right
It's
now,
great.
or hydrogen water. I'm just fascinated by it. Anyway, you talk about the oxygen, because I feel that goes direct into a cellular level, doesn't it?
Yeah. And correct me if you disagree, but you don't feel that there's a lot going on at the time, because you're laying there just, sucking it all up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not really aware of, okay, right, now she's onto this, now she's doing this. This is like it's such a beautiful flow that I love each session like that, because it really, the flow is so organic and just so natural that almost the body sucks it in. And even when I was doing the needles on you, it's like the body was going, like, I'll take that one, I'll have that one, that one, that one. And that is such a lovely thing. And that really, for me, is like when the body's kind of opened up. What was your question?
Oxygen. Yeah. No, that's okay.
I get so
Your story was better.
I get so carried away. So the oxygen, I've worked with oxygen therapy for years, and I found in my recovery it really helped me, because we all know that the oxygen can help with our skin health. That for years we had those oxygen bars, didn't we? That everyone was going for the glow up with the oxygen bars and the Mars.
Those.
So we all know from a very surface level that the skin can look so much more radiant with oxygen therapy. It's so much more than that. Using the hydrogen oxygen has been a real game changer for me in my health as well, because the hydrogen being a much smaller molecule as well, it really helps then brain function. So again, who doesn't want a bit of help with brain function, especially supporting with, going through perimenopause?
Oh, absolutely. Your cognitive function.
Yeah.
But I think the hydrogen goes down into, is it your ATP, like into the batteries of your
exactly.
Of your
so
cells.
You're getting helping the mitochondria. You're also supporting your gut health as well. So the hydrogen is the master antioxidant as well. So you are getting, it's gently detoxifying the cells, but also rehydrating, keys in the name there. So you're really supporting your whole cellular health. So the activated oxygen and the hydrogen oxygen together are really like the ultimate in cellular repair and health. And again, you're just switching from one to the other without the client knowing anything what's going on. So you're really maximizing these really clever machines without it feeling like you're in some kind of high-tech wellness lab.
You know, when you're talking about working the nervous system, how with the is it with the acupuncture needles, you can help if women are feeling low, really, I don't know what the right language is, but help with the dopamine and serotonin
Yeah.
and just remind the
The
body
low
about the
mood. Yeah,
happiness.
yeah.
So is that through the acupuncture needles as well?
Acupuncture, and also just relieving that flow of chi, in the sense that when we have that buildup of stagnation in the body, very often we're so clouded with everything that actually the mood becomes so low, especially with the decline in certain hormones as well. Like lots of women say to me, I just don't feel happy anymore. I just don't see the point. I just don't feel any joy. Or the husbands, partners are irritating the life out of them. They want to divorce. They want to leave that because they just don't feel happy. So the way that you do that, and it's just not one button for the joy. This is about the regulation of everything. We go, and lots of women say, oh, I actually felt happy when I left you. That's because the body's then gone back. I always call it like anchoring yourself. Your body's just, it's feeling a bit rested and cared for. And so actually it gives room for the happy.
It's a reminder
Yeah.
too of that you can access it.
Yeah.
I think that's important for women who are feeling that loss of joy, that it's actually in you. It is in you.
Yeah.
It's just, and using some of your
Yeah.
tools,
Yeah.
you could remind women that it's there.
If your nervous system is dysregulated, it's very hard to find the joy because you're too, you might be going around smiling that, but deep down we're just running from one thing to another and we're just staying dysregulated. We're not allowing ourselves giving ourselves the chance to actually to refuel.
But you're going to help us with this right now because Sarah had the idea. She's like, she thought it would be really fun if she shared some of the exercises that you give women as they're not homework, but it's like, here's things that you can do at home, these little micro moments, little things that can make a big difference. And she's very generously going to share it with us today. I don't know. We talked about acupressure. We talked about tapping. Where do you want to start?
Well, I always like to start with the bone tapping because this you can do anywhere. Well, you can do acupressure anywhere as well, but bone tapping. And I think most people have heard of acupressure, but bone tapping is something where a lot of my clients go, oh my God, really? So bone tapping was what we learned about this in acupuncture school. This was found with the martial arts, and they used to tap their bones to help with bone density. So when they were out fighting in, competitions or whatever, they would have stronger bones. There is no right or wrong with this. You are just literally tapping. I always like to start at the top of the head because I think, well, why not?
Yeah, good for stimulating hair growth.
Good for anything, but anything that creates the microcirculation is good because you get the blood flow, they get the oxygen. So great for the hair for the scalp. But also our bone changes in our face. This is why we can, we get more sunken under the eyes. Everything drops a little bit. So, the skin doesn't sit in the same way on the face, but we can really help support our bone structure by then tapping. And, here being quite a big area where we notice hollow eyes.
So is that in the hollow of the eye or is that in the bone just under the eye?
Yeah, just under the eye. You can usually feel where the socket is.
Yeah.
You can feel that dip there. Just tap. It's a great way of actually getting rid of the bags in the eyes as well in the morning, creating that circulation. So and also the cheekbones. Who doesn't want sculpted, lovely cheekbones? And then coming along the jawline. And do that everywhere, even down to your chest, your arms. We have bones everywhere, right? We're protecting our bone density. Obviously, depending on where you are, it's obviously going to depend where you're going to be bone tapping. But for me, it's a great one as well in the morning when you get up, because it really freshens up the face. The eyes look brighter. You're moving that flow of chi. You're creating the lymph. You're moving the lymph. Very often in the morning we can wake up with a bit of a pillow face or puffiness under the eyes. And also, as you're bone tapping, you are crossing over acupressure points on the face. So you can do that for a few minutes, just keep tapping, and you'll find that it creates some heat. And again, this is really good for feeding your skin, oxygen, the skin into the cells. I mean, it really, you couldn't start your morning a better way, really.
And you don't need you're not saying do this for 20 minutes either.
No, just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I like that.
And then one of the main governing vessel points, acupressure points, is on the top of your head. So the way that you find that is if you go to the top of your ears, and you kind of come up and find that middle point on your head. This is one of the main governing vessel points. And this is one of my favorite points. For me, it's like the reset button, but it's really good for migraines. It's great for lifting the face. It's also great for anxiety. It's a real anchoring point. Anxiety is a big one that I find that it really helps with my clients, but it's also a great face lifting point.
Okay,
so
we like that.
a good way of doing the acupressure. Now, you can do this really intuitively led as well. So if you find that you're feeling quite anxious, I always say, right, just then I always like to put my hand on my heart, acupressure point onto that governing vessel point, and I always just say, like, just press the point in circular motions and just take a really gorgeous big deep breath in and release. And just breathe 2 or 3 times. Another big deep breath in and release. And just whilst you're still pressing that point, and then just one last time, big deep breath in and release. And you can do that for however many times that you want to. But you usually find after you've pressed that a few times, you think, oh, actually, I feel a bit.
Yeah, when I opened my eyes, I was a bit like, whew.
Yeah, it's a really powerful point.
So even if you're at work, you can run into the loo. You can run into the toilet and privately take 3 deep breaths. I mean, nobody's going to sit at their desk and do it necessarily, but
well, you
do it
could
in your car.
sit there and be discreet. You don't have to close your eyes,
like
big thing, and just kind of, just here pressing my governing vessel point. Or you can kind of tap. I mean,
I'm thinking, tapping. Yeah, I'm thinking.
But that's a really good one. So it does a lot, that point. And I'm all about, I love the fact that a lot of the points on the face cross over to face lifting points because, I do like I want to keep this as, I want to keep gravity at bay. Another really good point is the one in between the eyebrows here. So where your pupil is. So often if you just kind of, first of all, when you look in the mirror, you see where your pupil is, and then you go up to the point where the eyebrow is. And then you want to come then one finger up to the point. So it's kind of just above the eyebrow. And you're just going to press. Now, these points here might feel a little bit sensitive. These are great for really calming the mind, migraines, but also really good for any lines on the forehead as well.
And what do they do by doing that? Is it just loosening, softening the line?
It's softening the line. So if you keep folding a piece of paper long enough, it's going to have that crease. So what this does, it just softens. It retrains, because very often we are frowning rather than. So it just relaxes this point here. That's why when you do this, sometimes you'll feel real sensitivity here. Do you feel anything there?
It just feels really good.
Yeah. Again, these doesn't need a long time to do either, just a couple of minutes.
And it's how much pressure? Like a good.
I mean, you don't want to give yourself bruises.
No. But it's
yeah,
not a soft
but
touch.
you,
It is.
yeah,
You
you're not
need- it is-
tickling yourself with a feather.
No.
Like you wanna feel. This is a really good one for migraines, heaviness, and also it lifts the eyebrows as well. So very often we can feel that the eyes become much more heavier. These ones here are really good for lifting the eyebrow, again, relieving the pressure and supporting the hormonal system.
I like it. This is like a 3-for-1. It's not
Yeah,
just the
I mean,
facelift. It's
yeah,
the
exactly.
hormones,
Yeah.
migraines.
Yeah. And then you've got the yin tang, which people know is the third eye point.
Okay. And what is this
Slightly
for?
lower down.
So
So you
lower?
want to, yeah, that's it.
Okay. And what is this for? Is it right between your eyebrows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Slightly up. Yeah, that's it. You're perfect.
Okay. What
And
is this for?
This is for stress. This is like anchoring stress. This is like your third eye. So this is like your spiritual home, your point. So again, this is about anchoring. This is about when you take your breath, but it also really helps with the 11Z's lines. You know, some people are always moaning about the lines in between the eyebrows here. So that will really help soften and lift the brow as well. But also this is great for reducing cortisol, relaxation, sleep, insomnia. Because it runs on the central line here as well, it's anchoring. So it's really bringing you back to yourself.
On that note, Sarah, the final question we ask all of our guests. Knowing what we know now about the connection between our skin and internal systems during the menopause transition, what would you tell our 35-year-old listener?
Listen to your body. Really nourish yourself properly. Listen to your body and make yourself strong. Like really think of yourself as a beautiful machine.
What would you tell our 45-year-old listener?
Adapt. Because your body's not failing, it's just changing.
And what would you tell our 55-year-old listener?
Enjoy it. Enjoy it, like just really. And again, I think going back to nourishing again, enjoy it. Like these are our wise years. We've got all this wisdom, let's enjoy it and have fun. I think we just need to have a bit more fun.
Sarah Bradden, thank you so much for being part of the MenoPositive community and joining me today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it. Thank you.
And for everyone listening, I know you're busy with big jobs and raising kids and running families and looking after aging parents maybe, or you're doing all of the above. But I hope this idea of inside out has given you something to contemplate, because I know you don't simply want to look your best. You want to feel your best. And I want that for you too. See you next time. Now, Sarah, I bake for all my guests. And for you, I've made granola.
No way!
Yeah, nourishing, nice, a little bit like nice and autumnal spices with cinnamon and whatnot. So a little something for you to take away.
Oh my God, that is so kind. What a lovely idea as well. And I love granola.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I knew you were MenoPositive when you downloaded this episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love bringing this information to you, and I love that you're taking control of your health. You can follow MenoPositive on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. Join me next week as we discover more ways to optimize our bodies. Because together, we're going to redefine menopause.
I got a good feeling.